think a lot of women have a complicated relationship with the word softness. For some of us, it sounds beautiful. For others, it sounds dangerous. Maybe we've learned that being soft means being vulnerable, that it means being overlooked, taken advantage of, not standing up for ourselves. So over time, many of us learn to become harder, more guarded, more self-reliant. We build armor around our hearts and around our lives because somewhere along the way we learned that hardness equals strength. But lately I've been wondering if we've confused softness with weakness. Because when I look at nature, some of the strongest things I see are surprisingly soft. Today I want to share 4 reasons I believe softness is not weakness. Number 4, softness allows us to bend instead of break. Think about a tree during a storm. The branches that can move with the wind often survive. The branches that refuse to bend are the ones most likely to snap. Nature understands something that we often forget. Flexibility is a form of strength. Yet many of us spend so much energy resisting change, resisting uncertainty, resisting difficult emotions, trying to stay rigid and in control. But life is constantly changing. And perhaps resilience isn't about standing perfectly still while the storm passes. Perhaps resilience is about learning how to move with life's changes without losing ourselves. What keeps us safe isn't always resistance. Sometimes it's flexibility. Number 3, softness keeps us connected to ourselves. Many women become experts at ignoring themselves. We push through exhaustion. We dismiss our emotions. We override our intuition. We tell ourselves we'll rest later. We'll slow down later. We'll listen to ourselves later. But eventually later never comes. And after a while we become disconnected from our own needs, our own wisdom, our own inner voice. Softness allows us to listen. It creates enough space to notice what is actually happening within us, to recognize when we're tired, to acknowledge grief, to honor joy, to hear the quiet signals we've been ignoring. You cannot honor what you refuse to hear. And sometimes the strongest thing we can do is simply tell ourselves the truth. Number 2, softness creates better relationships. I think there's a misunderstanding that softness means having no boundaries, that softness means saying yes when we want to say no, that softness means accepting poor treatment. But that's not the kind of softness I'm talking about. Real softness can coexist with clear boundaries. It can coexist with self-respect. It can coexist with strength. In fact, I think softness often allows us to stay open without becoming hard. It allows us to remain compassionate without losing ourselves, to disagree without becoming hostile, to protect our peace without shutting down completely. A boundary doesn't have to be a wall, and softness doesn't have to disappear simply because we choose to protect ourselves. Number 1, nature shows us that soft things are powerful. This may be my favorite lesson of all. Water is soft. It doesn't force its way through life. It flows, it adapts, it moves around obstacles. And yet over time, rivers carve canyons. Water reshapes stone. Roots are soft when they first emerge from the earth, yet eventually they can crack concrete. The changing seasons arrive gently, yet they transform entire landscapes. Nature rarely relies on force, and yet nature changes everything. When I think about strength, I keep returning to this image of water. Water never hurries. Water never argues with the landscape, and somehow it still arrives where it needs to go. Maybe there is wisdom in that. Maybe there is another way to move through life. Many of us were taught that strength meant carrying everything, handling everything, enduring everything, and never letting ourselves soften. But perhaps real strength is more spacious than that. Perhaps softness is not the absence of strength. Perhaps softness is strength that no longer needs to prove itself. Soft enough to listen, soft enough to rest, soft enough to adapt, soft enough to remain open in a world that often encourages us to close. This week, I invite you to notice where you've been trying to harden yourself. Maybe it's in a relationship. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's in the way you speak to yourself. And gently ask whether softness might actually serve you better there. I've been exploring what a softer way of living might look like, and if that resonates with you, I'd love to continue the conversation. Until next time, take good care of yourself.